Okay, guys, welcome to the second episode of the App Life podcast. So, this episode, we want to talk about native development, app development. So, native means like Java or Kotlin versus Swift. And Swift is also native versus things like React Native, Flutter, maybe Xamarin. So,
Yeah.
which one we would go for?
Yeah. So, what are exactly the difference between the native app and the cross-platform apps?
Yeah, so the native the native one, so Swift or Kotlin, Swift for iOS and Kotlin for Android, that are basically the languages or the platforms that are used by Google and Apple directly, or provided by Google and Apple directly. So, but then the disadvantage is obviously that if you only code, if you use them, then you have to do everything double. So you have to, if you have an app that you want to bring out for Android and iOS, and you use Kotlin for Android, then so that's how I started, right? I did Java, so I created the app, our phrasebook. I created it once, and then we wanted an iOS version. I had to create it all from scratch again. So that is quite a lot of hustle, and then that's why we switched to React Native. That's a framework by Facebook, and they're supporting it pretty well. And I started with React Native, I think 4 years ago, and we are still going really strong with React Native, and it has a lot of advantages. And the biggest advantage is obviously only one code base. Though you still will have to, for some features, you still will have to go separate between Android and iOS. But 90%, I think, of our code base is on JavaScript, and it's like the same for Android and iOS. So that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, there are advantages for developers, and will the users feel the difference between these?
I think right now, it's pretty. It looks pretty the same. I mean, there are some use cases where if you need like GPS, or you need, but though even GPS you can do it React Native right now. But if there are special things that you, or like AR for example, or VR, if you have any special things that you need exactly the device functionality for it, then I think it might be better to still use Android and iOS. I mean Swift or Kotlin. But if you don't need a lot of these, then it's, I think, always good to use a platform like React Native. The other one is, again, is Flutter from Google. It's a bit newer, and it's also very promising. And that also, both of these platforms really look very, very similar to, or they are actually native apps. So if you code well, you don't really have a difference between
Yeah.
native apps and cross-platform apps.
Okay, so these are like the general advantages and disadvantages between native and cross-platform. And when we come back now to our business, like when you did coding with Java and with Swift, how was it like? It's like the same feeling, or you have to learn everything new, or is quite similar? And was there a lot of problems?
You mean Java and iOS compared to, Java and Swift compared to React Native, right?
No, Java compared to Swift.
Okay, yeah, so I started with Java first, and obviously I knew the language before, and I did a lot with Java before, so it was not too hard for me, though I still had to learn Android, the Gradle, the build system from Android. That's also quite a beast. And then when I moved to Swift, yeah, it was totally different. It's absolutely a new technology, a new platform, Xcode, everything new.
And you need also like Mac.
Oh yeah, and I had to get a Mac, of course. Before that, I had a Windows. Then I had to get a Mac, and it was just a lot of work to actually go into it. So I wish I would have from Java. I would have done it Java, and then I wish I would directly have gone to React Native. But what I also have to say, if you want a serious app in React Native, actually you need also to know some Objective-C actually, which is similar. It's the old language from iOS because they're still using Objective-C, and then also you have to know some Java, and you also have to know the build system from Android. You also have to know the build system from iOS. If you do anything more complex than if you do like a phrasebook or like a very simple app where you don't need any configuration or any device functionality, then you might be able to just do JavaScript. And then you don't have to learn about all of that background. But once you get a little bit more complex, you also have to learn some of the Xcode, some of the build system from Android, build system for iOS. So it's also quite some work, but that's just how development is.
Yeah, and I remember at the time when we launched the app in Android, you just need Windows and simulator, and you just can just create an APK and then upload it into the store. But it was very different. It was from my memory. I thought like launch Android app and put it into the store, it was quite easy. But then when we tried to launch iOS app, it was quite complex. First off, started off with all the equipment that we need. We need a Mac, and we also need an iPhone because it don't, right?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, definitely. You need everything from Apple to actually get that going.
Yeah, and then you didn't get the APK like in Android, so.
Yeah, but then you have an IPA, so it's also a file in the end. But
you cannot just upload into the store like.
Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated. Also, the review takes a lot longer. You can expect to be rejected at least 5 times from the Apple team until you actually get the app out there. And then our app was a bit special because we did actually 50 apps. We had one app, but we created 50 apps out of that, and then it got a bit complicated with the build system of Xcode, and I had to do a little bit of scripting, so that was a little bit tougher. Maybe that's why you also remember that it took a long time to actually put the app out there, because we wanted to put 50 apps out there, right? Yeah. But if you do just one app, it's not that hard. It's not that much harder than Android. It's just it's just that you have to get the Mac and you have to get used to Xcode, which I think is terrible, Xcode. But it's just what you have to use. There's not really an alternative.
Yeah, and I remember there also different in if you like the sound function in iOS and in Android can be different. It can. You can hear the sound in Android, but sometimes you don't hear the sound in iOS. So this kind of thing, you also, I think you cannot maintain the same code base. Like,
you mean that was a problem when we had 2 different apps.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a problem, and it is not only, as you said, it's not only a problem of creating the app, but also maintaining 2 different code bases, and then you want to start. Usually, you don't want to just have one app, because then probably the first app that you could make a living from it if you're lucky, but then it's always better to have more than one app, right? And then imagine that you have 10 apps and then you have 20 code bases, so that's just a lot to maintain. And then and then that's why React Native better, or Flutter. But also then again, for example, the sound thing, then you will have libraries to actually do the native part for you. And if there's some problem with the library and you don't know anything about like Kotlin or Java or Swift or Objective-C, any of these languages, then it's going to be hard for you to actually fix some of the library code, for example. So that's also something you have to prepare to learn, or you directly hire someone. Of course, that's also something that you don't have to learn code if you don't know how to code. You don't have to learn it, but I think it's definitely a big advantage for the app business to actually know coding.
Yeah.
Now I don't really code anymore, but it took me quite a long time that I could stop coding. I mean, I did like probably 3 years of coding, but okay, that's another topic.
Yeah. So from our experience, as you told us, as I see, Android, creating Android and launching is not a lot of problem, because we have experience from the school, and to learn to launch an app in iOS, it's quite a bit of hassle. We have to buy Macs, which is not that cheap, and iPhone, which we are not from this world, Apple world. So and then different requirements to put the app online, like as someone say, with manual review from Apple. But in iOS and in Android, it's just automatically review. And then for maintaining is also you have to maintain both, and then think in different way, right? Sometimes in Java and sometimes in Swift. Depends on which app has issues. And then from this, what is the main, like the most pain point that you think I will not do this like this anymore?
I mean, basically the most pain point is for a simple app, as we did as well as a Facebook, right? To do it actually natively. It wouldn't. I mean, okay, back then maybe the situation was also different. 5 years ago, right? It's very big changes in the technology world. So nowadays, definitely I would start with either React Native or with Flutter. And I'm not sure about this too, because I didn't really do a lot with Flutter. There's also advantages, disadvantages again with these things. But I would definitely start a simple app, React Native, but then put it on both platforms as quickly as possible and get a Mac, because if you want to be app developer and you are only on Windows, you just or only on Android, you just miss so much opportunity in terms of revenue. So I think it's definitely worth it to do everything on a Mac and push the apps out there as fast as possible. Use React Native first and see how you like it. And you can also use Expo, which is on the top of React Native, and then you don't even need any. I don't even think you need to have Xcode installed to actually push it out there. I'm not sure actually about that, but that makes it much more easy for simple apps. And then later on, if you go more advanced, you can do the background stuff with the native part. I would definitely in 2020 not do a lot of native coding anymore.
Can you give us some example of big app who use React Native?
Facebook is one of the biggest apps. They invented it, right? And then I think Airbnb did it. I'm not sure if they're still on React Native right now.
So there
Uber,
are a lot
I think, so really big names,
So React Native is quite high.
Definitely. I mean, huge community. They have probably 90,000 stars on GitHub, and they have like every day a lot of commits and a lot of fixes, and they bring out a lot of new versions, and so it doesn't go away, definitely. Though Flutter is a big competitor from Google, because also they create a new OS now called Fuchsia, and that might replace Android in the future in 1 or 2 years or whatever, and then they might actually use Flutter for that OS, and Flutter is also working in iOS, so that's also really exciting, and it could be that Flutter gets the advantage from that. Right now, I think it's it's still not really, it can't really compete with React Native in terms of community and also in terms of their React Native is just more advanced. But I mean, Flutter, Google also pushed a lot of resources now into that, and a lot of they probably have 50 people working on that. So it's also a big thing. So both of these platforms, I think you can't really go really wrong with them right now. So just pick one and then go for it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite interesting. Of these technologies, it goes very fast.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
you have to be
Yeah, that's also
Updated all
one
the
thing
time.
in terms of how, like later if you want to build a team, then it's good that you have a new technology because then people are interested in learning this. If I have a company and then I ask people, okay, do you want to do my PHP WordPress stuff? And people, they don't like that much, right? But if you say, you get to know the latest features of React Native or Flutter or something, then and learn about that, then it's much better motivation for them.
Yeah, it's much easier. I mean, in our situation now in Thailand, we find better, good people mostly because they are interested in new technology.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Then see you next time.
Thank guys for hearing us. If you have any feedback, please leave the comment. We will read it and answer it. Bye.
Bye.